In September of 1988, deep in central Florida, a man stepped off the road and into the stillness of the green swamp. It was the kind of place where sound disappears, where the air feels heavy, where things don't easily get found. But that day, something was. Partially hidden beneath brush and earth, were human remains. No name. No identification. Would missing reports match up? Were there calls put out trying to find this person? Were they native to Florida, or somewhere farther away? At that moment, in that eerie green swamp, was a body waiting to be found. This is 15 Minutes of Murder. When investigators examined the remains found in the swamp, they were left with fragments of a story. The body had been there for 2 to 4 weeks, exposed to heat, partially clothed, moved, then left behind. There were signs that this wasn't random, this was deliberate. But without identification, the investigation stalled before it could even begin. They gave the victim a name, just something to fill the silence. They named her Julie Doe. The morning after her body was discovered, her remains were transported to a forensic lab in Gainesville, Florida. There, investigators began the difficult process of trying to understand who had been left behind. But almost immediately, they hit a wall. The level of decomposition had erased too much and the cause of death could not be determined. Still, there were details. She had long hair, bleached to a soft strawberry blonde. Her fingernails were carefully maintained, long, shaped and possibly artificial. She took time with her appearance. Her body also carried evidence of the past. Healed fractures in her toes, along a rib, in her cheekbone, and possibly her nose. Injuries that had occurred long before her death. Injuries she had survived through. Investigators estimated her height between 5'9" and 5'11", with a weight somewhere between 150 and 180 pounds. And then, there were the details that could have left breadcrumbs. She had undergone cosmetic procedures. Silicone breast implants approximately 250 cubic centimeters were surgically placed years earlier. Based on the type of implants, investigators believe the procedure likely occurred around 1984, possibly in a major city like Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans, New York, or somewhere in California. She had also undergone a rhinoplasty, a surgical reshaping of the nose, possibly connected to an earlier injury. There were even indications that she may have carried more than one pregnancy at some point in her life. Subtle markers in the pelvis, suggesting she may have been a mother. Each detail added something. A glimpse of who she had been. A person who lived life, who survived injuries, who cared about her appearance and made choices about her body long before it was commonplace. And yet, none of it was enough to tell investigators who she was. Not yet. Then, decades later, science caught up, thanks to forensic genealogy and DNA tracing. Technology that could reach backward through time, connecting fragments of her identity to living relatives. And in early 2025, investigators got an answer. Julie Doe, finally, had a name.
A new crime show created by two behind-the-scenes television industry vets from the worlds of Hulu, MTV, CBS, and more. 15 Minutes of Murder. A raw, unfiltered dive into the most haunting unsolved crimes with your creator and hosts, Tanisha Slater and Craig Chapman. After every episode, they break down the case with resident private investigator Desiree Edwards of Sunshine Investigations and star of VH1's Caught in the Act, Unfaithful. But it's not just their theories, it's yours too. Viewers will have the chance to be part of the show. Sunday nights, Because the clock is ticking, and every murder should end in truth.
Pamela Leigh Walton. The last confirmed record for Pamela comes from July 1988 in Kentucky. An arrest for solicitation that was later reduced to loitering. She had another brief arrest previously in April of '88 for possession of cannabis. What little details are known make out to suggest Pamela may have had a bit of a troubled life. One where she may have faced a harsh world alone. Two unfortunate moments captured in paperwork, linking a name, a date, a place. And then, nothing. A cold trail. Somewhere between Kentucky and Florida, Pamela just vanished. She was born in Kentucky in 1963, and adopted as a child when she was around 5 years old. She attended Nicholas County High School where she was a member of the band, but is said to have faced harsh bullying, and was often harassed. She didn't just face adversity at school, but at home as well. There was reportedly a falling out with her adopted family over an alleged theft incident which drove a wedge between the relationships. There are parts of her story we may never fully know. But what we do know now is after graduating high school, Pamela began transitioning. She was assigned male at birth, eventually living in her truth as a woman by the mid-80s. She was true to herself in a time that often meant stepping into a world with fewer protections, less understanding, and very little visibility. When Pamela's body was first discovered, examiners thought she was a cis female who had given birth at least once due to changes the medication made to her pelvic bones, until a DNA test in 2015 found XY chromosomes. That distinction mattered. Because for decades, investigators were looking for the wrong person. Cases like Pamela's exposed a gap investigators weren't prepared for. A gap that would later lead to the creation of efforts like the Transgender Doe Task Force, focused on identifying transgender victims who had been overlooked. Their work is vital within the community to give names to Transgender Doe victims, but additionally, to advocate for preventative measures so victims like Pamela don't wait nearly 40 years to be found. Even now, with her name restored, the most important questions remain unanswered. How did Pamela get from Kentucky to Florida? Who was she with? Who last saw her alive? Who left her in the green swamp? And why? No suspects. No arrests. No leads. Pamela Leigh Walton braved all of the bullying, misfortune, and challenges in life to fully live as her authentic self. Only to be tragically ripped from this world in early adulthood. Who knows what she would have become, or whose lives she would have changed along the way. But one thing is certain, time has not erased her, and her identity has been restored. You, Pamela, are not forgotten. Subscribe, share, and remember, someone is always waiting for answers. This was 15 Minutes of Murder.